Hi, this is Christine from Michigan, guest host on the Game of Thrones bonus shows and the Saturday B Movie Reel, and sucker for contests for free stuff. Contests like you can find here on Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television.
For the week of May 16th to May 22nd, 2015.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
Lots of fun to have this week here. Let's kick you off with some updates on some podcast-related stuff. First off, the latest poll. We're closing down now. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. This is where we asked you whether or not you currently pay any sort of monthly fee to watch your genre television, with several different choices. Turns out the most popular option, with 48% of the vote, was the folks that are paying for either Catalyte. There we go. Putting the two of them together. Cable or satellite.
Cats, that's the future.
Cats, cat herding, along with one of the internet content providers. That's 48% of you. The folks that are only choosing to pay for cable or satellite are 34%. And then we come down to folks who are just paying the internet content providers, such as Netflix or Hulu, at 9%.
I'm still surprised that there's that many people out there who have not been bitten by the Netflix or iTunes or, Hulu Plus sort of bug.
Well, I'm guessing it's sort of like me, where there's still some couple of shows that I don't want to wait to watch, so I still have cable. But maybe when those end or lose as much passion for them, I might consider going to the other options.
Yeah, but I guess the big thing that I'm surprised by is that people will pay for the cable and satellite, but haven't yet purchased a Netflix or iTunes or Hulu Plus subscription. That surprises me.
Oh, so I'm more thinking about getting rid of cable and going to only those. Yeah, I see your point.
Yeah, interesting. And there was also votes for the folks who get all their content for free with 5%, and folks who are just buying shows ad hoc, the ones they want to watch, or, just that way with 4%. So everything in the poll got some votes. And with that one closing down, we will have a new one up soon, so please come by the website, tuningintoscifitv.com, to see what's up there and give us your thoughts. Also want to let folks know, obviously, if you're listening to the audio podcast, this might not be as important, but we're trying to reach as many potential listeners as we can, so we are now posting our shows up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Same content you're getting here, but if you're the type who likes to use YouTube or make that, maybe it's easier to access when you want to listen, our regular shows and any of our special stuff will start going up there. So we'll have a link in the show notes to finding our YouTube channel if you want to subscribe there, folks.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. I feel like we've, branched out in a new way, although there isn't any audio or any video that goes with it. You just get to hear our voices for now.
Yeah, unless we do another a live stream or something, which we might do at some point. But we're in the infancy right now. We're just basically putting our logo up and playing the podcast behind it. But we might start, if I find a way to create time or clone myself, I might be able to insert images related to what we're talking about.
Who knows what we might do? Just another way for you folks to enjoy our good stuff. Also, we've got the summer coming up now, since many of our shows are finishing up this month, to let you know that we will be doing Almighty Johnson Season 3 watch or rewatch, depending upon status of folks here on the podcast. But that will be coming this summer. Probably in the next couple of weeks, we'll be kicking that off. Season 3 is up on Netflix, since SciFi has not had any plans to be airing it. But we do want to complete that series, so if you're going to want to join us, keep that in mind.
I've told you guys many times, this is the final season of this series, and it ends really well. They did a good job, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to coming back to this.
And then finally, for podcast-related news, a reminder, we've started our latest contest last week, giving you a chance to win a season of Person of Interest. Any one of the three, 1, 2, or 3, DVD or Blu-ray. Listen for the code phrase, as usual, somewhere in this particular show and enter. Great way to get on board or start filling out your collection if you've been buying them so far.
Yeah, either way, it's a good thing.
I'm glad we're getting some entries and people are indicating that they've always wanted to try this show out but haven't been able to yet, so this is a good chance for them to get in.
Awesome.
Alrighty, let's get ready to move over to our spoiler-free water cooler.
Come in, relax at the SciFi Diner Spa. Let the cares of the Galactic Empire drift away under the hands of one of our certified massage therapists. Has our favorite Gungan senator been annoying you?
Mr. Jar Binks, Mr. Your humble servant.
Let the fingers of one of our Twi'lek slave girls rub your frustration many parsecs away. Or perhaps you just found out that your father is a Sith Lord.
I am your father.
Our Wookiee massage therapists specialize in deep tissue massage. Send a holonet transmission to the SciFi Diner Spa to make your appointment. The SciFi Diner bears no responsibility should one of our Wookiees decide to go on a rampage and strew your guts from one end of the galaxy to the other due to frustration pent up against Palpatine and what happened on Kashyyyk.
All right, kicking off as we always do with the quick reviews, giving ratings such as watch it now, watch it soon, maybe let it sit on your DVR, or completely skip it. Saturday the 16th of May, we've got Orphan Black, Season 3, Episode number 5, Scarred by Many Past Frustrations. Really enjoyed this a great deal. I'd give it a low watch it now.
I could just go watch it soon.
Yeah, we're not that far off, Kevin. I'd give it a high-end watch it soon.
Also on Saturday, we have Outlander, Season 1, Episode number 15, Wentworth Prison. Not a show I watch.
I'm behind on this. I haven't seen it yet.
I'd give this one a low-end watch it soon.
All right, jumping over to Sunday, the 17th, Game of Thrones, Season 5, Episode number 6, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. I'd give it a watch it soon.
I would give it a low watch it now.
I know there's a lot of controversy about this one, and while I'm not mad at Game of Thrones, I am depressed by this episode. I'd only give it a high-end let it sit.
Yep, it was dark for sure.
Oh, yes, definitely. Also on Sunday, we have Penny Dreadful, Season 2, Episode number 3, The Nightcomers. I would just give it a low watch it soon.
I would give it a high watch it soon.
I agree. High watch it soon.
And also Sunday, we have Salem, Season 2, Episode number 7, The Beckoning Fair One. Not one on my calendar.
I would give it a strong watch it soon.
With the finales wrapping up, I might be able to catch up on this, but I'm not caught up yet, so I have to skip this one.
All right, jumping now to Tuesday, the 19th, Community, Season 6, Episode number 11, Modern Espionage. Wanted to like it more, but I'd still give it a watch it soon.
I had a couple of laugh out loud moments. I would give it a low watch it now.
Yeah, might be one of my favorites, if not the favorite of the season so far. I loved it. Low watch it now, I agree.
All right, next on Tuesday is iZombie, Season number 1, Episode number 10, Mr. Berserk. Greatly enjoyed it. High watch it soon for me.
I agree. Strong watch it soon.
We all three agree. High and watch it soon.
And also we have the season finale of The Flash, its first season, Episode number 23, Fast Enough. I would give it a high watch it soon.
I would give it a watch it now.
I agree with Wendy. Watch it now.
Next to Wednesday, the 20th, we have the season finale of Supernatural, season number 10, episode number 23, Brother's Keeper. I thought it was pretty solid. High watch it soon.
I would agree. Strong watch it soon.
Why couldn't the entire season have been like this? I agree. High watch it soon.
There's the question.
Got all summer to talk about. Moving to Thursday, the 21st, we have Wayward Pines. This is its first season. We're now to episode number 2. Do not discuss your life before. Low watch it soon?
Yeah, I agree. Low watch it soon.
Yeah, better get better quickly, but I agree. Low watch it soon.
Yeah, I'm kind of hanging around for that too. All right, moving to Friday, the 22nd, we have The Messengers. First season, episode number 6, Metamorphosis. I'm no longer watching, though.
I've never been watching.
I said I was going to stop watching, but I lied. I'm going to try to probably stick it out to the end. High-end watch it soon, though.
Oh,
that's good.
Okay.
It sounds like it's worth sticking around for.
Also, we're covering Daredevil one episode a week, so we're up to episode number 7 of its first season, Stick. I greatly enjoyed it. I gave it a low watch it now.
I agree. Low watch it now.
I wasn't as enamored by this one, I think, as you guys. I'd only say watch it soon.
Interesting. All right, and our final show to cover, the web series Other Space. First season, episode number 6, Powerless. It had some funny bits. I'd give it a watch it soon.
I'm not watching this.
Oh, watch it now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not watching this.
Alexei, what? Oh, he got me again. Okay. All right, with our Lots of our shows have had finales and the upfront's done. Not a lot of news this week. Got a lot of trailers, though. Wendy's going to start us off talking about the one we got to see for The Magicians.
Yeah, we've got a proper 2-minute trailer for The Magicians. And I don't know about you, but it was kind of like a cross between Teen Wolf and Vampire Diaries to me, but with a lot of cool special effects. But I'm kind of interested in this one. Yeah,
it seems to have kind of a slower pace based on the trailer. It's hard to tell from a trailer, but I also got kind of a vibe of like a Being Human sort of world. I don't know. It looks intriguing. Let's put it that way, and I think I'll tune in.
I think it's interesting. You both mentioned kind of different shows. You know how our minds love to kind of draw a comparison. I hadn't really thought of any of those shows. I would say I enjoyed it. Definitely, as Wendy said, definitely got a lot of CGI and special effects. So, it did its job as far as getting me intrigued, waiting to see a little more.
Well, the other show it sort of reminds me of is Hex, which was quite a while ago. But that was about kids at magic school, too. It had Michael Fassbender in it as a very memorable character. But it didn't look quite as cheesy as Hex.
Now, there's a comparison I do kind of see. Yeah, okay. Alrighty, well, next up, Brent's got the trailer for something we've been all looking forward to here, Teen Wolf.
Yeah, a pretty lengthy trailer for the next season of Teen Wolf, Season 5. A lot of detail in here. It's pretty densely packed. A lot of scenes, a lot of dialogue, and a real sense of what maybe the theme of the new season is going to be. It looks intriguing. Teen Wolf is a show I loved in the beginning, got kind of so-so in the last couple of seasons. I'm hoping it's maybe turning around and getting more exciting, but I don't know. I don't know if this is going to excite you when you watch it or make you just go, I wonder what they're going to do. But that's kind of what it did for me.
Yeah, Teen Wolf definitely was very high on my chart, definitely in the love it phrase for a little while. And like you said, it's still good, but not quite as sharp. But, with some character changes and such. No, I got a good vibe from it, but kind of also okay, let's see how that develops. I mean, they've jumped up again. Last season was 12 episodes. Now they're going big again with 20. So that also gets your concern about filling stuff in. So, I'm glad it's only a couple of weeks away at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not going to be too long before we get to see a little bit more of the details behind the trailer, but I'm definitely intrigued for where they're taking things.
Kevin, I'd forgotten it's 20 episodes now. You've got me all depressed because now I know I'm going to get frustrated with how slow everything progresses.
Yeah, so that's, again, trying to set expectations, folks. 20 episodes, That's a bit of a concern. I mean, starting mid-year, and I don't think it not last one, but the one before when they were super big, they took a big break. So I don't know if they're running straight through or whatever. I haven't heard anything on that yet.
Well, maybe they learned from the last time, because I think there was criticism about being uneven, that, maybe we'll have a 10 episode arc that wraps and start a new one. So they'll have better momentum, maybe.
Good idea. I have to see if that's really where we go based on what we get for stories. So, what's that common phrase? Cautiously optimistic?
Yeah, I am too.
All right, next up on our trailer train, as I'll call it, we've got a couple of links I'll tell you about for the new show coming in the fall, Scream Queens. And this is one I've had a pretty strong interest in. Was a little disappointed. We got nothing but those real 15-second, what I consider a waste of teaser things. But we do have the official trailer, over 3 minutes long, coming in the fall. Gives you a little backstory on what this story is about. You get to see some of the characters, a good chunk of actual stuff, obviously from the show. And also with that, if you're someone who's interested, they also put out what they're calling an inside look video this week, a little short, about 2.5 minutes. It's got a little the talking heads bit, a few of the actors talking just a teeny bit about their characters too, along with some stuff. So this should give you a good feel for what the show might be like and whether or not it seems like it's something up your alley. I got to say, for me, it kept me interested. Horror is not my go-to genre, but looks like it might have a sense of humor enough to keep me around.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see the inside look video, but the trailer looks like what I would call classic Ryan Murphy. So I hope it's going to have some wackiness to it. I'm not really also on the horror train, so I don't really care about how much horror it has, but sort of out of the box characters and humor will definitely keep me interested.
I haven't seen the first look yet, but the trailer, I have to say, was better for me than anything I've seen previously. It actually got me kind of interested in the show. You're right. The The humor was good. I'm going to love to see Jamie Lee Curtis on a regular basis. That's going to be awesome. And I just have to say, are you eating candle wax?
Yeah, check it out, folks. Fill in on that one. So, interesting. We'll have to wait to see. Next up in the trailers is something we're going to have to wait several months for, but it's coming from SciFi. Wendy's going to tell us about it.
Yeah, this is the SciFi miniseries for Childhood's End, which doesn't come until 2016. But this is a proper trailer, and I think it kind of sets up everything you need to know about the storyline. You know, it's a good old-fashioned alien invasion, but it looked pretty good just from the trailer. And I realized, I think that lead guy, is he from Under the Dome or something? I recognize the lead actor, but I don't remember his name.
I don't know. I'd have to go watch that again, but I did enjoy this trailer quite a bit. I did read the book when I was younger, and I even bought the ebook and started rereading it on Kindle. And yeah, it seems to, from what I saw from this trailer, kind of really, it doesn't stick to the time period or the, scene by scene from the book. Obviously, book adaptations rarely do, but it does seem to have the general feel of the book.
Yeah, and I'm coming in this totally cold. I have not read the book or known much about it, so I literally was watching the trailer cold, coming in, with no background. And yeah, it did a good job of getting me a little interested, especially, and I tend to be more open to the miniseries idea, Sci-Fi's edition anyway, of let's see if it's a ratings hit and then we turn it into a show. But yeah, it's got a little creep factor and got some interesting bits and definitely true sci-fi. So that's great to see. And I think it's, going to be, like you said, very early 2016 or around Christmas time. So it might fit in well between a lot of our other shows airing. We'll have to wait to see. And last up for our trailers, we're going to jump over to a Netflix show, and Brent's going to talk to us about that one.
Yeah, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it's a show called Between, which is a Netflix original. And this one, folks, they're releasing week by week, as opposed to, say, Daredevil or some of the other ones that they've put out. And it's basically, the premise is that there's a town that's hit by a virus that, they end up being quarantined, and it ends up killing everyone except the young. So you have pretty much no one older than about 22 left alive in this town after the government's, basically quarantined the whole thing and not let anybody in or out. And so I don't know, but I think it's just the story of their survival. Maybe it's kind of an Under the Dome-ish thing, but maybe less campy. One episode has been released already by the time you hear this, and they release every Thursday. So I think I'm going to check this one out after the podcast and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm curious, but not curious enough to be the first one in the pool. I'll kind of wait for you to look at it, Brent. Maybe some of our listeners. It may or may not be something of interest to me. The only thought that occurred to me hearing about the premise, I chuckled a little. I mean, I knew it was Netflix original. I was like, this sounds like a CW show, nothing but young people. So I guess we'll have to wait to see.
Well, I did think it was interesting that for some reason you have to be 23 or older to get the disease, which they stated very clearly. It sort of had that a cross between like the 100 and the Last Ship, because it's, some virus pandemic type thing that takes everybody out and leaves behind young people to keep things together. I'm not entirely sure I'm interested in another pandemic type show, I have to admit. So I might wait and see what the word is before jumping into that pool myself.
Alrighty, next up I've got some info, now that we're done with our trailers, to talk about a show that is coming soon to Netflix, Sense8. We've talked a little bit about, had a trailer not too long ago, but Netflix did their upfronts just a couple of weeks ago, and a couple of the key actors from the show, Daryl Hannah and Naveen Andrews, did talk a little bit about what it's going to be like. Not like they're giving away big spoilers here, folks, but if you want to come into this one totally blind, you might want to skip the next couple of minutes on this, and I'll leave a lot of it to the actual link if you want to go into full details. But a couple of things they did say. This is the show with the folks that have got, I think it's 8 characters who are connected somehow. And from the trailer, you can see that. They're seeing each other in mirrors and so forth. They did talk about how they're each experiencing physically the things that others are experiencing. If they cut, they say if you're cut, you feel it literally. They did say that the show is not sci-fi, but is very mind-bending. So I'm not sure if that got me more interested, probably less. I'm not sure where I'm kind of going here. So I got to say this one didn't get me more excited. Maybe got me a little more standoffish, but we'll have to wait to see.
Well, that's interesting because then in the next sentence they said it's supernatural thriller category. So if it's supernatural, it's genre. It might not be sci-fi genre, but it's not a straight up drama or a straight up action show, at least the way that I'm interpreting this. How could it not be if you have 8 people who are psychically connected?
Yeah, the way I read this as well is it's definitely genre. I mean, it's definitely got a genre hook. It's not science fiction. So if you're expecting that, it's probably not. It is definitely a supernatural show. I don't know. I kind of found this intriguing because I assumed from the earlier bits we've gotten about this show that there was one dude who was like the memories of these 8 people were put in his head or something, or somehow he was programmed with their abilities. But it's actually 8 separate people that are linked. So that's kind of interesting.
The other thing I'm going to be really curious about, there was a comment, I think it was by Daryl Hannah, about how, they're dropping this the way they did Daredevil so you can consume it all rapidly as if it were like a 12-hour movie. So I'm going to be curious if it pans out similarly to how Daredevil had that sort of momentum to it.
Yeah, and I do take that as a good thing, seeing as I'm guessing it's going to take a little while to roll out, the basis of the story. So yeah, if you get hooked enough, great, you can keep going. If it's not doing anything, you get to totally make your call right there. And this is dropping in early June, folks, so it's not too much longer before we'll get a chance to see it.
Contest clip time. In this clip from Person of Interest, tell us what Shaw says the other guys look like.
Hey, sweetie. You busy?
A little? Skip the verb before play rude. Where are you calling?
Can a couple of gals take a little break from work to catch up?
No, we do not have time to catch up. Oh, you guys look like crap.
Next up, Wendy's going to give us a little bit of casting news for Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, we've been talking about a lot of the folks from the original Heroes coming back, and now we've learned that Greg Grunberg, who played Matt Parkman, he was the telepathic police detective from the original Heroes, is going to be returning to Heroes Reborn. They say he's only in a guest arc, so I assume that means he won't be in every episode. But that's kind of interesting that they're managing to bring back quite a few of the original heroes.
Yeah, it was good to see that he's coming back. I really enjoyed that. And I'm hoping that even though she's on another show, we might get a glimpse of Claire Bear.
Yeah, it's, this is a cool guy, fun character, but also Greg is very active on social media and supporting lots of charities. So he's a fun guy on the social side of things. So seeing his character again here will start getting me thinking about some other possible returns, as you said, Brent. So it's a good thing all around.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Brent's comment about Claire Bear. At a minimum, we should be able to hear her voice calling her dad at some point, I would hope, or a little Skype call or something.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us are hoping so. All right, our final news item for the week here. We're going to let Brent talk about one of his favorite shows.
Well, I'm not going to talk too much about it. Den of Geek got to visit the set of Defiance, which is one of my favorite shows. But there's some hints in here and plot points for what's coming up in the next season, as well as a few new pictures. So it didn't really reveal too much for me that I didn't already anticipate or know was coming. So it's not too spoilery. I think it's worth watching if you're just kind of curious about where Defiance is going to pick up.
Yeah, this is from Mike Ayer, who's one of the co-hosts of the Liberate podcast, the Continuum podcast. Usually get a chance to see Mike at DragonCon, so it was great he got to visit the set. And this is, a lot of good text-based details that you can take a look at and some other stuff, as Brent said. So if you're a Defiance fan, I think you're very much going to want to go deep. I enjoyed looking through it. I mean, we're middle of June before the show comes back, so it's about time to kind of reacquaint me and get me thinking in that mode again.
This was a good reminder about Defiance coming back soon, and, how much fun is that to get to go behind the scenes? That's just awesome.
Alrighty, finish us out as we usually do. We have a Tuner Minute for you. This is one that I recorded, and it's entitled, What's Good Got to Do with It? I want to touch on a topic that I think I've done a Tuner Minute or two about in the past, maybe last finale time. I'm not really exactly sure, but it's really bugging me, so this is a bit of a Tuner Minute / rant. Naturally, a lot of our shows have had their finales very recently, and lots of folks are very excited about them, as are we at the podcast. But one thing that's really bugging the heck out of me, and you folks have heard me mention it on the podcast from time to time, is the fact that when someone talks about how good a finale was, all they talk about was that it was good. You should watch it because it's good. And when I say, okay, well, why should I be watching XYZ show? because it's good. And it's driving me nuts. Please tell me why a show is good, what you like about it, the characters, the writing, the plot lines, whatever. This obsession with good, you should watch a certain show because it's good, just drives me crazy. And I even saw a few articles, and that's what they talked about really, was that the show was good, and they described the scenes, but they don't tell you why. Maybe it's just me. Am I the only one that really gets bugged by this idea that we just have to blanket everything as good, and therefore you should watch it?
I thought you were going to go with it was good because it had a cliffhanger. Because that seems to be the criteria I've seen lately for judging a season finale, is it must have a cliffhanger, and if it doesn't, it wasn't actually good. But I think the definition of good is very subjective. We definitely had some discussion when we talked about the Arrow season finale last week between our sort of satisfaction with that episode. And, who knows, we might have that when we talk about some others in this show. But I generally won't just broad brush something with good. I'll give a reason why, either because it closes off a storyline, generally is what I'm looking for in a season finale, and sets up something new, or it pays off something with characters. If there's been things planted along the way, I want to see them actually sprout somewhere, versus be forgotten or sort of swept under the carpet or wrapped up too quickly. For me, that has to be good, but also by an objective standard of good in terms of the quality of the acting or the quality of the writing in terms of explaining why something got resolved.
I'm feeling my inner Tina Turner. What's good got to do with it?
That's where it came from.
Yeah. Kevin, I don't know. I think I understand the gem or germ of your question. And I think, to me, that I understand what you're saying. And I understand it as well, because there are people who will say that around me. And I think what it is an overreaction to spoiler phobia. People are so sensitive about not giving away details about a show that they're nervous about saying anything any more than it's really good. You got to check it out. It's really good. And when you say, well, how's it really good? They're like, oh, it's just good. Trust me, you got to see it, because they don't want to spoil you. And they're afraid that if they start talking about why it's good, they're going to give away plot points accidentally. Before the show, Kevin, you and I were talking about something that I thought was pretty good. And I was trying to explain it to you. And the exact same thing happened, because I even laughed because I had heard your Tuner Minute. And I wanted to say more about why I thought it was good. And I'm like, ooh, I can't do it. I talked about acting and characters and plot unfolding fast, but I didn't talk about details, and I really wanted to. But I was really biting my tongue. And I think that is probably the genesis of this more and more people reluctant to give away reason or rationale for why they rate something. Like our quick reviews, where we have quick review ratings. I occasionally feel the need to add, when I give a quick review rating, of why I gave it that quick review rating without giving any plot details. But I think people are more and more sensitive about that stuff because of spoilers.
Well, you make a good point on the spoiler side of it, and I certainly can understand that. It's just it just seems, and I'm talking even print articles and well-known websites with quote reviews of some of these shows. And I'm kind of leaning, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because we're going to talk about it in the back porch, the Flash finale. I saw a ton of postings, not just social media friends, but actually articles and quick summaries and reviews. And that's, the show is so good. I mean, that was like within the first half of the first sentence of a bunch of them. And it's like, it's just a crutch. Fine. Talk about the characters, the relationship, the acting. Give me something without getting spoilery to give me something to go on. And it's just, it makes me roll my eyes. So I guess I follow you, Brent, and maybe I should be a little more comfortable hearing that as the first go-to line. And then hopefully when I ask, they'll get a little more general in some comments. But it's like I'm putting people on the spot if I don't just then run out and put it in my queue, or I'll also nod my head in agreement that just that idea that something's good is the only reason you need to go watch a show.
But there's also a timing element to this online stuff too, because everybody's racing to be the first one to get their recap up. So I do agree they're getting lazy, because some sites, they don't even state that they're putting up their recap. They're just putting a placeholder there with part of the recap so that the people who read the blog can have an opportunity to throw stuff into the comments section. So I think that part is definitely also contributing to why you don't get a lot of detail beyond telling us the plot in recaps, because there isn't that much time for whoever's writing the recap to do anything more than recap events versus actually digest it and sort of hit the salient points, I think, sometimes.
Interesting stuff. I'd be very curious, folks, to share some thoughts on this. Come by the forum, or if you want to do it in audio form, we'd love that too. But this is something that does tend to come back and really bug me from time to time. So feel free to educate me. I always appreciate hearing the perspectives on it. Alrighty then, let's get ready. Let's move over to the back porch so we can talk about some cool episodes from the current week.
Today we talk about The Flash, Daredevil, and Orphan Black.
All right, kicking us off here, we're going to discuss The Flash Season 1 finale, Fast Enough, and Brent gets to go first.
The Flash season finale was really good. Kevin, your turn. Just kidding.
Yeah, it was really good.
I knew that was coming, okay? I'm not the sharpest tack in the box, but I knew that was coming.
All right. Well, no, this one was pretty well paced. I really did enjoy the momentum that was building, and some pretty dramatic events that occurred during this episode. For instance, well, it wasn't so dramatic, but in the beginning, a little more subdued. Cisco is informed by, I'm going to keep calling him Wells, okay? Because that's who we're used to calling him, naming him by the Reverse Flash guy. Informs Cisco that he's essentially the Vibe. We know him as the Vibe, but he's a metahuman, and he was affected as well by the explosion, and he can feel the vibrations of the universe, which is how he was able to remember the alternate timeline, and so easily remember Wells killing him, or the Reverse Flash killing him, which he talked to him about. But Wells also ends up telling Barry, this is how you can go back in time and save your mother if you want to do that. And he also explained, I love the confrontation, and we've seen this in the trailers where, Barry has questions and he says, just ask Wells says, just ask. And he says, why did you kill my mother? He says, because I hate you, and he explains a little bit about, how where he comes from. And this episode doesn't talk too much about his origins, but I just couldn't resist reading more online about the origins of the Reverse Flash and the character. And there's some really good stuff out there. You gotta check it out. But he tells him how to go back in time and save his mother, if he runs around real fast, and the team gets together, the whole group gets together, everybody comes in to try to help, and they determine that Barry can generate a wormhole that would allow him to travel through time, but he has a limited amount of time in the past. He has to come back, or else it'll develop into a singularity and destroy the Earth and maybe the solar system and who knows what. So he ends up doing that. There's a lot of hesitation about whether or not he should or shouldn't, and his adoptive father talks to him, and finally, talking to everybody, he's kind of convinced that he's going to try, and he goes back in time, and I love the scene as he's going through the wormhole. You see little glimpses of the future. I mean, we see a clip from the Legends of Tomorrow trailer that we all saw with the giant robot foot. We see a glimpse of, and I didn't notice this until it was pointed out in an article of somebody who pointed out all the Easter eggs. There's a shot of Caitlin as a metahuman, because apparently she has also been affected by this thing, and she becomes a metahuman. So we get to see her kind of in her superhero or whatever guise. So that was kind of cool. I didn't even notice that at first, but I have to rewind it and check that out. But he goes through to his home when an older version of him and Reverse Flash are circling his mother, right? And what I thought was just really cool time travel-y wise was the older Barry knows that the younger Barry is there, and the younger Barry's peeking through a doorway, and the older Barry, in super speed, kind of takes the time to wave him off, to actually hold his hand out and shake his head no to the younger Barry. And that's apparently enough for the younger Barry to realize he probably shouldn't mess with the timeline and destroy everything, destroy his relationship with Iris, destroy, all the love he felt from his adoptive father and all of that stuff. So he doesn't do it, but he does get to a very teary farewell with his mother, where he's able to take off his hood and explain that he's her son, that he's grown up, and that he loves her and all of that, and a lot of teary stuff. And she does die, of course, because Reverse Flash did basically puncture her heart or something, so she dies fairly quickly. But on the way back, Wells is set up in this time machine where he's going to go back, this orb, and we get a great call out to a character who's coming in Legends of Tomorrow. But he's going to travel through the wormhole back to his time. But in comes this slow motion, cool action Barry coming back, just smashes a thing, and then there's a big fight. And of course, it ends up with a dramatic turn of events, which is that Iris's boyfriend decides that if he is the direct ancestor of the Reverse Flash, that the one way to solve this is to kill himself. And he shoots himself, looks like basically through the heart. Seems to be a theme in this particular show. And dies fairly quickly, and as he does, the Reverse Flash disintegrates, basically, just fades out of the timeline, just goes away. And we're left with what looks like a dramatic ending, and then it looks like they didn't shut down the wormhole in time, and the singularity starts to form, and the whole, the universe is in danger, and it ends with Barry running out there, and his father from the cell, seeing him running up, trying to go super speed and stop this thing from spreading, and his father saying, "Run, Barry, run!" The theme from the show. So I thought it was pretty cool. We also got a glimpse during that of the singularity forming of some characters we're going to see in Legends of Tomorrow. We got to see Hawkgirl looking up at this thing. So it was a really good finale, Kevin.
Yeah, and I did enjoy it a great deal. And we've talked about it. I'm just not as emotionally invested in the Flash as I am some other shows. So I enjoyed it a little more, from a distance, I would say, when I'm looking at it. The things that I kind of dinged it a little bit on is we spent a lot of time talking. Not that the performances weren't excellent, and not that it wasn't, something that I appreciated, but along with some of that cool stuff you just described, there was a whole lot of characters talking to each other in little clatches as he was making his decision. So I did enjoy it a great deal. I think they really, certainly towards the second half of this season, really gelled with what they were doing. And have got some stuff I'm enjoying a great deal. I mean, the fact that they've chosen the Back to the Future approach to time travel, that your ancestor dies, then poof, you go, might have some good impacts, too, on other story stuff, along with those big, big cliffhangers, as Wendy pointed out in our 2-minute discussion, that you really have to appreciate, looking like it could be the end of time. With what's Barry's got to try to stop, along with some of those other little nice Easter egg things that we can lead to with our characters here. So I'm very curious now where we go with the as you described, the Wells/bad guy. Now, obviously, being out of the picture comes season 2. Where are we going to go? What's Barry going to be up against, and how is the team going to be dynamically different, having to run things on their own? But the info about Cisco's potential abilities, and also the fact that, as you said, Caitlin's going to have something, is very intriguing. So I got to give him a lot of props for really getting a lot better this season. And it's a show I enjoy. I just don't love.
Well, I think it was a really good finale, Kevin. And actually, I think it was a great finale. And I'll tell you why. Because it wrapped up the big bad, which was Dr. Wells. And it's set in motion what's going to happen in season 2, probably, at least the setup with this vortex that's going on. I thought that Grant Gustin in particular did a great job in the scenes where he was really struggling with what to do. And he goes and talks to Joe. I thought they had a really just wonderful conversation about why Joe was so eager for him to go get the family he never had. And then when he goes to talk to his dad, and he's like, no, you need to not mess with the natural order. And I thought that Grant Gustin just did a great job with processing that stuff. And also, we had some interesting stuff on the Wells side where he's talking about how he has a reason why he hates the Barry from the future, the Flash from the future. And he never knew his name, which I thought was very interesting, because in this show, they've kind of let everybody know who the Flash is, and I'm wondering if that will change based on anything that Wells left behind as an impression. I also really liked how the other half of the older scientist, whose name I'm forgetting, was really instrumental in helping them with getting the collider up and running and everything, the accelerator. And I really liked the question I have in my mind, which is, if Eddie kills himself and erases Wells from the timeline, then how did the past happen? Did we unwind some of the past also, and we just haven't seen it yet as well? Or how does this all really play out? So I was also a little bit scratching my head when Eddie appears to be dead, and they don't take his body. It's like Barry could have scooped up his body pretty easily, I would have thought. So there has to be a reason why his body went into the vortex and didn't stay behind. I really liked the whole flashing past people on the street who are people that we might be seeing in Legends of Tomorrow. That was kind of cool. How they sort of really have built the excitement for what's coming. I also liked that they threw out the Mercury helmet, which is from another Flash, and how that was tied to Wells saying, "Oh, it's time for me to go." So I'm curious if that's going to get paid off sometime in 2 also. But for me, it really was about resolving the story they'd been telling and Barry's character coming to a certain point in his development, and I thought that all really worked really well.
Yeah, there was also the marriage, Caitlin's marriage, which was pretty cool. When you mentioned the older scientist, I remember that he had officiated that, and I thought that was pretty cool. And Eddie, though, being sucked, like you said, the helmet from the alternate timeline Flash coming through, and then Eddie getting sucked through too. A lot of people are speculating, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's a chance that he's going to be saved somewhere in some alternate timeline, and then we're still going to have a reverse Flash coming from an alternate timeline or something of that nature? But yeah, the timey-wimey stuff kind of gets me too, because, you know, if the reverse Flash was disintegrated, basically left the timeline, then all sorts of things should have happened. I mean, Wells never died, so he was still around, but Barry wouldn't become the Flash because the whole accelerator and the explosion was all planned by the bad guy who's no longer ever existed. To create the Flash, so Barry wouldn't be the Flash anymore. So a lot of stuff is like, ooh, these guys they better explain it all, or they better just say, oh, please, guys, just wave your hands and put on your blinders, because we're just doing a fantasy show here that's got no, we're not trying to make any sense out of it. It's just a fantasy show. Just live with it.
Yeah, and I don't think they're doing that, so that's why I'm going to be curious how we get some actual explanation on that.
Yeah, once you start dealing with some time travel and those implications, or at least in my opinion here, you kind of have to put yourself in one of those camps. Like I said, the Back to the Future camp of the ripple effect of what happens to someone, or those alternate timelines. If they're going to start mixing and matching them, yeah, they're going to be tread lightly, or you're really going to lose some points with me, certainly, if you do it the wrong way. But some pretty exciting stuff. Got to give them credit for that.
So did you think it was good?
And sticking with my general approach, yes, it was good, but not great.
Okay.
And a lot of people are,
I thought it was great.
Are they, it's good, and the emotional is good. Like, yeah, it's good, but, that's where Kevin's brain goes to.
Yeah.
I thought it was exciting.
It had some exciting stuff, but again, it lost the real high excitement meter for me with so much talking. Important stuff. Important. I'm not knocking that, but not exciting.
And normally that bugs me. You guys have heard me a lot of times talk about slow plotting episodes with just a lot of talking. And normally it bugs me, but you know what? When I was thinking back to this episode, after this episode finished, and when I was thinking back now to talk about it, those scenes didn't even occur to me. I just remember it being fun and sitting on the edge of my seat watching the entire episode. So that was pretty cool.
Yep, and I totally get that. If you're doing it well and you're into a show, you're right. You don't tend to notice them, which is where I did. So, and interesting. All right, next up, we're going to talk. We haven't had too much of a chance to talk in specifics about Daredevil, but we've got an episode this week that got to the top of our list. This is episode number 7, Stick, and Wendy's going to lead us off.
Yeah, I call this kind of the backstory on Matt's training episode. We see a lot of him as a kid meeting this blind, I'll call him sensei, who shows up when he's really struggling with sort of being overstimulated from the world. And Stick arrives and understands that that's his problem. There's a really nice, memorable moment when he takes him for ice cream. And it kind of is a turning point for Matt to sort of take control of his situation and get some power back, empower himself. So I like that. I like the training sequences that happened. I also like that Stick is not a sentimental guy, and as soon as he realized that Matt was becoming attached to him, he leaves, and Matt has this real anger at his abandonment from this guy. So when they're reunited, and Stick won't actually admit that he needs his help to take out this new threat from, I can't remember if it's the Chinese or the Japanese, I think it was the Chinese, called Black Sky. And Matt is reluctant to help him, but he finally does. And it turns out that Black Sky is a kid, and of course Matt doesn't want to kill a kid, but Stick kills the kid anyway, which sets them off into this epic battle in their apartment, which is sort of like Matt's graduation also, because he finally sort of gets the better of Stick, who is only sort of grudgingly accepting Matt, saying finally beat the old guy. There was a lot of interesting interpersonal drama between those two characters. And this was also the episode where Karen and Foggy sort of step up their Scooby Gang cred, to my point of view, in terms of what they're doing to investigate what happened from the fires, and also Karen bringing Foggy in to meet the reporter. So in this episode, for me, they sort of established that they are credible to be his Scooby Gang. They might have the chops for that as well. And at the very end, we get Stick going to meet with somebody who I have no idea who that's supposed to be. They seemed supernatural, though. And they're asking about whether or not eventually Matt is going to step up for the implication of some bigger battle to come. So that was kind of ominous. But overall, I like this because of how it paid off some questions I had about, where does Matt's skill come from? Because it obviously didn't come from his father, who was a boxer. And also, it built out more about his character and the other two leads.
Yeah, normally, I kind of like origin stories, but this one, I don't know. I was telling Kevin before the podcast that this particular one was very heavy in flashbacky origin stuff with Matt as a kid, and I just didn't find it that interesting. And so I think that's why I rated it a bit lower than you guys. It was, the stuff in the present time was entertaining. Were some good fights. Obviously, there was some good tension there, but it was a little cliche too, and I didn't really like that very much between their relationship and old guy who stuck in his ways sort of thing, and young punk who's idealist, wants to do the right thing, and I don't know, it just didn't rub me really the right way. So overall, I didn't think this was a great episode. It wasn't one of my favorites of the season, so it was okay, but it just wasn't great. The guy at the end, the muscular guy we only see from behind, who asks the questions, yeah, he did seem kind of superpowered. I agree. Don't know who he is, and I'm very curious to find out where that particular little bit is going.
I personally found it interesting in our discussion about The Flash and my concerns there about a little too much talkie to make that a great episode. And then when I compare it to this one, which had a lot of talking between Stick and Matt, which I was very comfortable with. So it's definitely showing me, and I suspect maybe some of you, if you can get totally emotionally or you can get immersed in a show or a story, maybe some of those other things go by the wayside. You're not as conscious of them. Because I really enjoyed getting, as you said, Wendy, the backstory of how Matt got as skilled as he is. I was expecting something like this a little earlier in the series. Waiting till episode 7 was a little surprise. But again, a great actor coming in to do his role made it very compelling to learn some of that stuff, along with the other bits of the bigger story, as you said. The other 2/3 of our Scooby Gang, if you will, really pushing the envelope there with the reporter, and the bit at the very end, as you both mentioned about, oh, who's this? Okay, there's something else bigger playing, just made the whole, wrap it all together, and it was certainly getting me much more engaged in Daredevil now at this point, since I am literally waiting a week between. So I will say, after watching this episode, it was much harder to wait the week for the next one. So if we stay like this, engaging for me, it's going to be tough for me to spend the week between the episodes. But we'll see what happens. Now that we've got past finales for a lot of our shows, I do have a little more viewing time, so it's a little more enticing to maybe step ahead. But overall, still, enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the other reason why I agree, Brent, the backstory of him having this mentor was not anything new. But I really like the actor who played Stick. He definitely carried a lot of mystery with him. So I think that was part of why I was so engaged with it. And also because he obviously had wounded this kid so much that I was sort of sitting forward wanting to know, what did he do? And then I really liked the fact that he very deliberately crushed the ice cream cone thing that he had given him. But all these years later, he still has it, and he gives it back to him. He didn't ever destroy it. So I thought that was just a beautiful symbol of how much he really did care about the kid, and how he knew that he couldn't actually show him affection if he wanted him to be as tough as he needed to be.
That's all great, but what I really want to know is, where's Elektra, damn it?
It's episode 7. No spoilers. No spoilers. Oh, no, just kidding. Yeah. Very intrigued where we go from here. All right, and last up in our discussions, I'm going to lead us this week talking about Orphan Black. This is going to be episode number 5, Scarred by Many Past Frustrations. And, Orphan Black has been very entertaining this season, but I haven't been loving it as much. But I think for me, this is probably my highlight episode of the season so far. And I know those that know me well, many of you are going to say, yep, that's because we had Ksenia Solo in here as a guest star. Now, obviously that had an impact, but I also thought the Sarah and Helena stuff was some really good stuff and some good interactions. It was very interesting to see the two of them in the prison and what they're doing, and the cold shoulder that Helena is giving to Sarah about what's going on, blaming her for being traded and being in the prison. That was some good character stuff back and forth. Enjoyed it a great deal. I also really was curious as we're playing out the Gracie story a bit here. Going to Art's place because Sarah had given her the card. And Art eventually dumping her, or maybe not dumping her, but passing her off to Mrs. S. and Felix made for some very entertaining stuff. Felix had some great lines there as Gracie is totally new to the world and eventually is going to cause some troubles, and Mrs. S. has to kind of temper her idea of going out on the town. So there was some nice little humor in there. But then the Shay character, the Ksenia Solo character, meeting up with Cosima, that whole sapphire date thing that they put together. Great chemistry between the actors working here. I thought that seemed very natural. Cosima, poor Cosima, as I say oftentimes, between the physical problems she's had and then the relationship with Delphine. And now Shay, she's obviously getting very attached to Shay, and is Shay all above board, or what we're going to find out there, complete with a little scene of someone taking photos of the two of them at the bar to create that. Is she in on it or not? Again, very interesting stuff as we keep building up what's going to be happening. And then eventually when Helena's working her escape plan and Sarah's in on it and literally takes a couple punches to be able to go down to the infirmary to get something else to help, I was very engaged in what they were going to do. And was very surprised when Helena didn't, break Sarah out with her. Basically said, we're now even based on what she did, and she's the one who leaves. Very good acting there because, looking at Tatiana playing Sarah, the desperation and how she felt being left behind certainly felt real. So that was very interesting. I'm wondering what that's going to be. And we still don't know exactly where they're being held. It's some desert-type location, so I'm not even sure how Helena's going to live over the wall kind of thing. What's going to happen to that? And the mystery side of things, too, coming up with Paul having come back and being very disappointed that Sarah decided to come here and telling Mother, as I refer to her, that he's very concerned, and Mother saying, no, we're not going to hurt her, and we're not sure what's going to happen there. But also leafing through the little journals of the Castor clones, that they're obviously all documenting their sexual encounters and getting hair samples. And we saw the problem Gracie had at the end with the eyes showing some type thing, as we also saw Art talking to that woman that was assaulted by the 2 clones earlier. So they are passing something, it appears, from a sexually transmitted disease point of view. So overall, quite a bit of interesting stuff playing out, and I'm much more engaged after this episode for the season to see where we go in the second half of the 5 episodes.
I don't know why. I guess I wasn't quite as engaged as you. I do agree we don't know whether Ksenia Solo's character is a plant, she's another monitor, what her agenda is. I hope it's none of those things, and she's actually legit. It'd be nice and unusual in this show to have a truly innocent bystander come along. I was very engaged by the drama going on in the prison or whatever that camp is called, where they're held somewhere, I agree, in the desert. So I was surprised that Helena did basically give up on Sarah, but every time the Scorpion was talking to her, she's really feeling the betrayal. So I wasn't entirely surprised that she didn't go back. And I'm going to be very curious if Paul finds a limit point where he can't support the mission any longer, because he's been put in kind of a bad spot. Earlier, he seemed to be, on the side of the Castor clones and, really working for them. But now he seems to be getting into conflict with the Dr. Mom. So I'm going to be curious where he draws his line, because I assume there's going to be one at some point where he's going to have to pick a side again.
It was great to see Ksenia Solo. I agree, Kevin. I early on, though, from after her character's appearance, I became convinced, and I'm still convinced, she is a bad person and she's working for bad people. And I think her no, I think that Cosima's relationship with her is going to go bad, and I think that that's going to be enough for her to realize that she really does still love Delphine, and for them to get back together. So on a romantic side, or a shipper side, I think it's good news for Cosima Delphine, but I think Ksenia Solo is kind of like the new Rachel in a way, a bad person working with a bad group, but it's a different group, I think. So we're gonna see where that one goes. But the Sarah and Paul reunion was interesting. I kind of tend to agree. I'm waiting on the sidelines for Paul to do something to redeem himself, because I was expecting that at the end of last season. I was expecting that at the beginning of this season. So I agree that there's probably something coming up where he's going to do some redemptive thing. He's probably going to break Sarah out at some point as well. So we're going to see what happens with that. The Helena Sarah stuff was pretty good. I have to admit, I'm getting real tired of the Scorpion thing. It was really interesting and intriguing and kind of cute for a way in the first episode we saw it in. Getting old. Already, and I'm tired of it. I mean, Helena's up there on the wall saying she's got to go back for her sister, and the Scorpion's like, "No, you've got to think of the baby." It's like, come on, it seems so arbitrary, so hokey to me, and I like having the inner voices, and I'm sure Helena seems to be the kind of character who's had inner voices all her life, but this manifestation of it is just getting kind of old for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's too much of a good thing. They need to throttle it back.
I can see that, but I'm still cool with it. I think it's still entertaining in the way it's being done, but I can see it. It is one of those tools that you got to be very careful, because when you do cross that line, like you said, whether for those of you that maybe it's already crossed, once it crosses, it's going to annoy the heck out of you. So they do have to be very cautious. But yeah, I mean, to me, the only downside of the ep, and there's only so many minutes, was no fun. Donnie and Allison, what is it, pharmaceutical entrepreneurs or whatever. I mean, that's got some other interesting bits I want to see develop too. So I'm hoping this is maybe the ep that it really kind of kicked it into full gear for the remaining second half of the season. Because there's going to be some pretty interesting stuff as they start bringing some of those together. And you're right, Brent. I'm right there with you on Paul. I'm waiting for him to finally step up, because he seems like he's doing the classic play both sides thing right now. All right, well, I think that's going to run us out of time for this week, folks. Been a lot of fun talking about several shows, as we love to do, and also keeping you up on the news, a little lighter there, so we get some more time back porch to talk about shows. But it's been a blast. We appreciate you listening in. Always appreciate Brent and Wendy sitting down so we can talk, and we do still have several other shows and items to talk about later in the week in the last call, so I hope you come back for that one. And hope you all take care.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Catch you next time.
We love to get your feedback. Call us at 206-202-4182, or leave us a Skype voicemail to our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV name. We have many ways to keep the discussion going on our blog. Drop by tuningintoscifitv.com and leave a comment. On the blog, you'll also find links to the forum discussions and other links to follow our Twitter and RSS feeds and find our Facebook account.
Tuning into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, episode 338, recorded May 23, 2015.